All right, let's get started. Okay, good to see everyone. How you doing, Boyke? Excellent. By the way, is anyone going to the Las Vegas Expo this weekend? Anybody going to the Vegas Expo? If you are, stop by and say hello. I'll be there. I don't go to a lot of expos, but I will be at this one. We just had a tiny little shorting opportunity in the euro here, but nothing that great. Let's move on. So today we're going to cover swing trading. We're going to go over swing trading. We're going to identify swing trading opportunities in the Forex market. We're going to do this applying our core supply and demand strategy. Same concept as doing this for short-term trading. Okay. Right. We're just, again, looking for, I would just say that doing it this way, maybe it's just a little less complicated, because when you're short-term trading, yes, you have to find your levels and turning points in the small time frames, but you also need to know where you're at on the larger time frame supply and demand curve. When you're when you're long-term trading, swing and position trading, you don't need to look at those small time frames. So it just eliminates that kind of extra element, extra work. That's all. Okay? So let's look at the big time frames and identify where banks and institutions are sitting with buy and sell orders. Let's start with the euro. Actually, before we do that, let's look at the dollar. We always look at the dollar first. Let's do that here. Okay. So as you know, we've been looking at this dollar chart for quite a while. We've had this level up here for many FX Street sessions. We've finally come pretty close to this level. We've actually almost touched it. Some people might put their line down here. I'm just putting it up here just to be a little on the conservative side. So there is a little bit of room for the dollar to rally, but we do have some supply up here, which should cause the equity index markets and some of the major currencies to bounce a little bit, like the euro's doing here today. The euro bounce today should not be a surprise to anyone with the dollar up near supply. Hopefully you have these levels on your charts. Okay. So knowing where that level is, now we come down to the euro. Let's start with the weekly chart. So as you know, we've been focused on this weekly supply level here for quite a long time. We reached it, and obviously we're falling off that level nicely, so great job if anyone's in this position. But where's the nearest larger time frame area of supply that we see on this time frame? It's going to be right down here. So let's put that in. This will show us that we've got quite a bit of room according to this time frame. Now when we come down to the daily, the picture's going to be a little bit different. That's why we look at these multiple time frames to figure out the real supply and demand equation. I would say as far as initiating a short position, I see someone's asking a question there, your dollar question. As far as initiating a short position, yes, I would prefer to do it at the upper level. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, you got a nice euro long yesterday on the 5-minute. Great. So that combined with the dollar hitting supply, now were you also watching the dollar? Because that obviously helps stack the odds in your favor. Nice job with that. Okay. So if we look at the daily, so that's what we have on the weekly. Pretty clear. And I would argue that the supply not only is pretty strong, I do not see the euro going significantly higher anytime soon, because now not only do we have evidence that there's pretty strong supply up here because we just touched this and fell, but now we've got some new supply sitting just below it, right? Okay. There's plenty of room for more of a euro bounce, but I'm talking big picture. Okay. When we come down to the daily chart, we see that sitting just below, we do have a cluster of activity down here, and this is not seen on the weekly chart. Okay, so I'm going to put this level right there. Draw a line there. And put a line there. Okay. So this area right here on the daily is right inside this on the weekly. Make sense? Okay. So we got this area down here. Watch for that. I would not initiate a big long position off this level, just to be honest with you. I'd wait for prices to come down a little bit more. Okay. So we're kind of right in the middle of the larger time frame supply-demand curve. That gives us quite a bit of information. That means as far as initiating a longer-term position, now's probably not the time to do that. As far as short-term trading, our location here on the larger time frame supply-demand curve, which we've done on the daily or the weekly, tells us that we can be a buyer and a seller. Okay. All right. Will, nice, good question there. Will the euro likely break this supply level because of the one touch? Not likely, no. Notice prices barely traded into this level and then, fell away from this level, and we have a new level sitting just below it. So that's suggesting there's quite a bit of supply up there. Not a whole lot of fresh demand anywhere close. So I wouldn't worry about that. Could something happen? The black swan, I guess it could, but hardly ever does. So, what the chart suggests is going to happen, almost always does happen. Okay. Yeah, so when I say buyer and seller, I mean in the smaller time frames, not in the bigger time frames. I'm saying our location on the larger time frame supply-demand curve tells us that as a short-term trader, we can buy at fresh demand levels on small time frames and sell at fresh supply levels on small time frames. That's what I meant by that. All right, the chart I do want to draw your eye to, though, is this 30-minute chart here. Let me blow this up a little bit. Okay. Yeah, there's really not a lot of fresh supply. The level I was going to point your eye to, it's going to look far away on this time frame, but it's really not that far. I'm going to point your eye to this area here. Okay. Remember, this is a swing and position trading session. Okay. So that 128.80 and higher, there's not a whole lot to stop prices from rallying up to that level on anything on the 30-minute chart or higher or above. All right. So that's what we have on the, as far as the swing trading side of things goes. Now, what I like about that 128.80 is it gets prices kind of up close to this supply up here. Okay. We already have evidence there's no significant demand until the recent low of 126, 126.57 down here. There's no significant demand until here or lower. So if we get any kind of rally up to the upper 128s, that looks like a nice, we can get in for a nice multi-day hold to the downside. But we need that rally to happen. We need somebody to be convinced that the euro is worth buying at 128.80. Okay, there's room to fall on the daily, room to fall on the weekly, and so on. All right. So as far as swing trading goes, I think we're good. I think we're good with that. Oh, the one thing I want to mention though, the dollar. So the dollar's into supply here. You're probably thinking, why aren't we looking for longs in the euro, right? Well, we have that daily demand just a bit lower, but I also want to point your attention to this. Normally, I would not be interested in this level here because of this big wick. Actually, let me do this. Let me take this down to a 60. Uh, 127.80, Ward, I think you're looking at this one. No, that would just be a pivot high. No, that would not be a demand level for us. Let's go down to, hang on just a second. I want to get the right time frame up just to make the picture very clear for you. Okay. So the one place where, and this may actually turn out to be quite a bounce from this level. Keep an eye on this one. Again, I just want to stay the larger time frames because this is a swing and position session. Watch the euro here. Now I know there's this wick down here, and normally we don't like that. But because we rallied off that wick and we're just basing here, and that's quite a long time there. Let me blow this up. Okay. Let's take a look at this area. We're looking at 126.35. You really need to stop below, I'd say maybe 126.08. Whoops. Okay. So, of course, you should adjust your position size to make sure that you're not risking more money than you're willing to lose. Okay. And the reason why I put this one in is because we've got this dollar supply sitting right here. So if and when the dollar hits this and the euro's into this area, you could see a nice bounce to the upside. But make sure you time these two. I strongly suggest you don't take this demand level unless the dollar is, inside this range somewhere. Makes it much higher probability. Make sense? Okay. Okay, there we go with that. All right, I can go to any market you want. I've got a whole list of markets here, but if you want me to go to another market, just type it in. I'll be happy to do that for you. Something, just not the Swiss franc, because it's basically the same as the euro. Anything but the Swiss. We can come back to the Swiss later. I'm sorry. Okay. I just saw you were typing. Yeah, let's try to stick to currencies here. The euro against the Aussie. I guess we can look at that. Why don't we look at just the Aussie dollar, the Aussie against the U.S., and then we'll come back to the other one. Now, the Aussie, and the reason I say that, this Aussie is going to be a little trickier. So, on the weekly, it's kind of the same way the chart looked the last time we met. We've just kind of been basing and basing and basing. Now we've kind of broken out of that level. We've got these prior highs up here. Okay. 127.80. Are you talking about the euro? That 127.80 or that 27.80? I think there was a small time. There are other small time frame levels. If that's what you're asking about. I was just going over swing levels, but let me see. Let me just go to the euro futures for a minute because I know there was a beautiful level in here this morning. And I think it's the one you're talking about, if I'm correct. Hang on a second. I swore I was not going to look at smaller time frames, but here we go. Let's see. No, it wasn't 127.80. Hang on a second. It's Forex, right? I guess how can we not look at a smaller time frame? Not 80, but I guess you can do both of them. It was this level right here, and I believe this is on the Mastermind Community grid. Okay, right here. So that'd be 127.66 with a stop at 76. I say you'd be fine with 10 pips there. This is the futures now. I'm looking at the euro futures. Okay. This is drop-based drop, which normally we're not in love with, but it's right out of a rally-based drop, so I think we're okay there. Okay. Okay. All right, let me see here. Someone's having a little sound issue. I guess I'd probably try to help them with that, but they won't be able to hear me. So, all right, let's move on. I think we were looking at Aussie. Oops, that's not the Aussie. Someone else wanted the Canadian, so let's just go here. Kind of bouncing around. Yeah, watch that little level in the euro. Okay. Let's look at the Canadian from the swing trading perspective. So the two areas of interest on the weekly chart are very clearly, and I'm not saying these are fantastic levels, right there and right in here. Okay. those are our two areas of interest. So let's drill down and find some levels inside there. Okay. When we come down to, notice I said areas of interest. Okay. So, great question there, 2443. Which is more reliable, DBD or RBD? Great question. Depends where you are on the supply and demand curve. Okay. We have this at Online Trading Academy. We have this class. It's an online class. It's a really good class. It's a great class. I will be teaching that class. It's an online class. I will be teaching that class soon. And the reason why I mention it, so I know there's a lot of FX Street members that have not been to a class and are not in the XLT, and that's totally okay. I'm not pushing you to do that. But what always bothers, what's always very tricky for me is writing the articles and doing webinars. Is there's never enough time, and you can never go over everything you need to go over. And of course, that wouldn't be fair to the XLT members either at Online Trading Academy. But to make the jump, with Online Trading Academy, it's some of the things could be expensive, which I totally understand. So some people can't make that jump. But this market timing class online, there's going to be an opportunity coming up to have that class sponsored. I think just about 100% by a broker. So I'm going to have more information on that soon for you. So I believe you will be able to get into the class for almost nothing, and it's a full-blown market timing class. It's pretty neat. I'll get more information to you maybe next time. But the reason why I mention that is because 6145, absolutely. Send me an email. There's definitely a less expensive way. Yes. Okay. So the reason why I say that is because I really want to take a deep dive into the supply-demand curve and all this other stuff, but there's never enough time. So anyway, let's move on because I'm running on, wasting more time. Okay, but that's coming up, so we'll get there. All right, let's come down to the daily chart. So notice I'm not. This is something that you always want to do, whatever time frame we're talking about. Notice I drew this circle down here in the Canadian. Looks like just rally, base, rally. Let's take this level. But what you'll find a lot of times, okay, is, let me type my email address in here. There it is, Seiden@tradingacademy.com. You just send me an email, we'll figure it out. What you'll find a lot of times is what may look like a great level down here. When I come down to the daily, I see, well, there is rally, base rally, but we've already had a pullback. So not a great level. There's another one, and we also had a pullback. And where's the supply? Well, on the daily chart, it's not clear. Right? In fact, I don't see any fresh levels looking at this time frame. So that's why we have the ability to take X-ray snapshots, which is looking at multiple time frames. Okay, so let's go and do that. And let's come down here. Now, does anything open up here? Right? Because remember, on the big time frame, oh, okay, sorry. Here it is. Seiden@tradingacademy.com. Okay, here we go. So, now when I look here, I see, there's some banks with some unfilled buy orders here, right? Okay, so we've got two levels to look at. We've got this one, and this is a big time frame, which we like. Nice swing trading opportunity. By the way, for me, what I do, I'm always focused on that short-term income, right? In my 20s, I was trying to figure things out. My 30s, I was starting to make really good money. 30s, 40s, 50s, my plan, I guess, maybe just 30s and 40s. My plan is to really just focus on that short-term income and long-term wealth. Just making sure that both of those are growing and growing and growing. Very razor sharp focused on that by trading the financial markets. The way that I do that, I'm 42, so so the way that I do that is I trade futures and forex for that short-term income, and I do it during a specific 3-hour window in the mornings here in the U.S., a very specific 3-hour window where the odds are just stacked in your favor. For that long-term wealth bucket, I'm doing simple options, right? Simple spreads around larger time frame, fresh weekly supply and demand levels. Period. Okay. That's why I love doing these swing sessions here. And guess 2862. If you're doing this right, you shouldn't have a big string of losses. Okay. You should not have a big string of losses. All right. Let's continue here. Is the rally-based rally is always going to be found in the middle of a move. The drop-based rally is always, the benefit of the drop-based rally is it's going to force you, to buy low on the curve and sell high on the curve. Okay. This is something, again, we go really deep into in that market timing class. Okay. So let me draw up lines around these. So this rally-based rally is a fresh level. This drop-based rally may be a fresh level, but you have to check. Okay? You have to look to the left and see what's there. All right? Exactly. Guess 6675. Be better if you put your names in here. You can put numbers in if you want. I feel like talking to numbers. Anyway, it doesn't matter to me. So drop-based rally, rally-based rally. What's the difference? Right? Rally-based rally is good. It's a fresh level, but it's always going to be in the middle of a move, right? So it's never going to be very low on the curve unless you really look at the larger time frame supply and demand curve, all right? Drop-based rally forces you, because it's preceded by a decline, to trade far out on the curve. The further out on the curve you trade, the higher the probability of the trade, and the more the odds are stacked in your favor. Okay? I'm sorry, and the bigger the profit zone, bigger the profit margin. Okay, so watch for those two in the dollar Canadian here. All right, those are two levels. One starts at 98.50. The other one starts at 97.85. This is a 180-minute chart. Okay, and there you go. All right. As far as supply goes, again, it's up here, but let's blow this chart up and let's look left. Now I'm going to put a horizontal line up here, and I'm going to scroll left until we hit that line again. There it is. Okay. So all I'm interested is the price action above this line. Is this a supply level we would take? Or I should say, is this a supply level we would take? We'll never cut through candles, 1073. Okay, good. I agree. No, this is not a supply level. Is this a supply level we would take? No, right. This is not supply over here because this is a pullback into this. This is not a supply level because it's not fresh anymore. So we go up to the next one. Okay, right in here. And we've got a couple levels on top of each other. Because this is a swing trading session, I don't know yet, but let's see how big this level gets if we combine these two. Let's put some lines around these levels. That pivot high there, that one looks okay. When we say it's not fresh, that means price has been back there at least once, which means some of the supply, the orders that are causing it to be supply, are already filled. Okay. Make sense? So, a little bit higher, but again, these are swing positions. These are swing levels. And for those who've been following, have been here with me we've been doing this, I think, for, I don't know how many years. It's been quite a few years with FX Street. We rarely miss the big swing moves. I mean, usually we get those well in advance, and those are very low stress trading opportunities that we've caught. I think all the major moves. Again, not patting ourselves on the back. It's just not that difficult to do this in a larger time frame. Okay. Yeah, so let's see if we can combine these two. So 101.45. No, that's going to be too much. So yeah, that'd be about. Just looking over here. So that'd be about 50 pips. You could scale into this position. Right? You can put on some here, more here, with a stop for the whole thing above the entire zone. Obviously, calculating your position size so you don't actually have more money at risk in the market than you're willing to lose. And of course, watch the dollar if and when prices get there as well. Okay. So I think in the Canadian we've got the top covered, we've got the bottom covered. I'm very comfortable with those demand levels and supply levels that we found in the Canadian. But we had to do a little look at 3 different X-rays, right? Just like the doctor does. You have 3 pictures up there to figure out where those orders are. Make sense? Okay. All right. Sure. We can look at Chuck. I know you've been typing that in for a little bit. Let's look at pound yen. I wouldn't say usually. I see your question there, but half the time, just make sure it's fresh and make sure you've got all the odds enhancers there. In my mind, when I'm looking at these, my eye has been trained for years to do this. But what you're doing is that you're really just running through this checklist of odds enhancers and making sure that the level scores out pretty high when you're scoring out the odds enhancers. Okay, let's take a look. That'd be Alex, 7 to 10, Chicago time, Central time, 7 to 10. So 8 to 11 Eastern time. All right. We're on the pound yen. Okay. Looking at the larger time frame, the weekly, we've got this stair-step pattern. So we've got levels of demand, big picture demand, sitting just below us. We've just pulled back into here, and we're starting to get a rally off of this demand here. Okay. When we look above, there's not a whole lot up there, at least not in this time frame. But I can already see in these charts below that we're going to have something there. So let's go down to that smaller time frame again. Before I do that, though, I just want to give you a little tip. You see right here on the daily chart, right here on the daily chart, this may not look like a perfect supply level to you, but this picture here, this little bit of basing with a drop, should always, every single time, trigger you to go down and investigate this area on a small time frame. Always. Anytime you see this, when my eye looks at this chart, the first thing I see is this, and that causes me to go down here and look inside this area. Okay? Which we're going to do in a second. Let's see. Just looking at the questions here. What time do I first look at the charts in the morning? That's the question. So, yeah, my days, for me, it's kind of like Groundhog Day. It's during the week. I get up about 5 Central Time. And I'm on the charts for about an hour and a half. Then I try to go to the gym and come back for an hour, and then come back and kind of do it that way. But I'll do all my analysis. I won't look at the markets much past, I'd say 7, 8. I'd say I usually don't look at the markets much past 8 or 9 in the morning Chicago time. I've done all my work, way before that. Because Sabrina, remember our goal is to identify, we need to have this razor sharp focus, Sabrina, on where banks and institutions are buying, where banks and institutions are selling. So what does that picture look like on a chart? That's the whole supply-demand concept we go over. So if I look at this daily chart, I see right here that there was trading going on at this price, but prices couldn't stay there, right, Sabrina? So there was a strong decline on the daily chart, which is significant. The reason why prices declined here is because supply exceeds demand here. There's a lot of unfilled sell orders up there, right? But I can't really make out much of a level from this. Or even if I could, I can always, I want to go down to a small time frame to look inside here and say, where exactly are the orders, right? Where exactly are those sell orders? And is this really a fresh level? Make sense? So let's do that. Let's go down to the smaller time frame. Right. Now, we just came into supply. In fact, barely. I'd probably say there's another shorting opportunity up here. Okay. See, this level that we just found, here, you're not going to see this on that large time frame. That's why I take this X-ray snapshot. Put a line right there. Now we barely touch this level. Okay. So I would say, potentially a new high above this level is shortable. Now, make sure, I don't know what platform all of you are trading on, and you don't have to tell me. It's not a big deal, but make sure that, we're kind of getting off the, make sure the spread's not too bad before you take some of these trades. We're looking at the pound yen now. Yeah, it already kind of spiked into here once. Obviously, it backed off very quickly. I'm glancing up at these small time frames here. Okay. When I look at the 5-minute here, there's really not a whole lot down here to stop prices from falling. Not least till you get down to here, the 126.50. So I would be comfortable potentially shorting another rally up into this level. Whoops, right there. Okay. Because if you trade above this high, most people are going to get bullish. You're going to say, oh, well, we're making a new high. It's got to go up. Well, that's right into a level where the chart is telling you supply exceeds demand. So watch for that level right there sitting just above 127.50. Yeah, Luca, that's what I was talking about with the 5. Real nice profit margin below. In the large time frame, it looks great. Looks like there's really nothing to stop this from falling all the way back down to here. But even on the small time frames, there's nothing. There's really nothing until, again, you get down to 126. 40-ish. So watch that one. Yeah, good question, 89. Question is, what if a supply level forms on the 5-minute inside that level? Would you short that? You could, sure. But here's another question that might come up. What if a demand level forms on the 5-minute here, just as price is reaching this larger time frame supply? Should you take the trade? Yeah, I would probably take it. Just, know that the presence of that new 5-minute demand level, it's probably going to slow, it's going to slow down the prices. It's going to cause prices to just decline at a slower rate. Make sense? Okay. Chris, I'm never considering, conventional support and resistance. There are so many flaws with that school of thought. We've had sessions where we go over all of them. Conventional support and resistance, has you always looking at pivot highs and pivot lows. Those are the support resistance levels. Yet, what a pivot high or pivot low is, okay, what a pivot high or pivot low is already a pullback into a supply or demand level. So, conventional support resistance always has you taking low probability trades. That's why people, do so poorly with it. 1073, just send me an email. That's what I was talking about with that market timing class. Okay, there's my email again. I'll get you more information on that. Okay, let's move on to another market. And actually, now I'm really going to ask you to pick it, because every time you guys have been picking levels, or markets, we found great levels in them. Canadian, fantastic levels. Good one here in the pound yen, the euro. So keep picking some good ones. Vishal, you want to look at the dollar yen? Sure. Now, I looked at the yen this morning. I don't remember seeing a whole lot, but we did have quite a bit of movement. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at, here's the weekly. Okay. So we've got a nice fresh weekly supply up here. All right. But again, just looking at this, that would always force me to go down to a smaller time frame. Okay? Always cause me to go down to a smaller time frame. Let's do that. And let's see where that level comes in. It's about 80, 90. Oh, that's way down here. Wait a minute. Yeah, so that's this area here. Not really interested. More interested in the level above. But let's go down to that. Let's go down to that smaller time frame. Excuse me. There we go. Here's this. Oops. Let me get some more days in here. Sorry about that. Hang on a second. There we go. Well, that's interesting. Look at that gap there. Hang on a second. So let me just refresh the chart. See that big gap in there? That's I don't know why that's happening. You could use that on any type of candle. Yeah, I'm just reading back now at some of the questions. Okay. I'm not sure. I'm not able to get those larger time frames. Let me try on this one. I do a lot of my trading in the forex futures, short-term stuff anyway. I think the swing trade you're fine with using spot forex. You know, today too, things have gotten so much better in the world of spot forex. I think you're probably okay short-term trading. We're seeing people do better and better at that. Less of the issues that happened before. Anyway, I want to point this level out on the daily. I was trying to get it on a smaller time frame, but for some reason that chart's not working. Well, let me see. I might have just got it back. Hang on. No. Something is wrong with that chart. Okay. Come back to that later. So here's a level on the daily to absolutely keep an eye on. It's a little ways higher, but this is the origin of that drop is right here, and that's what we want to focus on, is the origin of that decline. All right. Yeah, I saw some other questions. So for the swing trading side for me, often what I'm doing is, again, it's a very hands-off approach, which I like. For quite a few months now, I've been getting anywhere from 2 to 6% a month, usually closer to that 4%. This month is going to be a really big month, and like I said, I'm mainly doing options around big picture levels. Okay. So selling calls up in here, buying the higher calls, and that's worked out really well. You can do that in any market, stocks, futures, Forex, of course. Okay. I'm only looking at maybe 3 to 5 positions a month. All right. Watch this level around 82.45. Okay, going up to about 83.40. Okay. Yeah, we can look at the larger time frame. We haven't looked at any monthlies here, but there you go. Okay. Let's just run through I know we're almost out of time here, but let me run through. We've looked at, this is the euro, so there's our demand level in the euro, which looks fine. But again, in the big picture, we've been saying this for over a year, quite a long time. The euro just looks down. There's no significant demand until, oh, what a surprise, par with the dollar, right? Again, I'm not saying we're going here tomorrow, but if I'm going to put a longer-term position on the euro as a long, it's going to be from right down here. Okay. Again, the chart's telling you that's where the fresh level is. Here's silver. I know someone's been asking about silver for a while. Okay, here's a chart of silver. Let me just go back to the daily. So silver's bounced off demand here. It's now kind of up to supply. I'm talking about this supply level right here. Let me see if it's a little clear on this chart. Should be. Not that much clear. Watch this area in silver. You've got some supply up here at 32. More up here. As you move higher, you've got a couple nice supply levels above. You really don't have any demand until you make a new low. Just one tick above this low, I'd be a buyer, because that'll put you into this level again, and you barely touched it the first time. Okay. Here's my email address one more time, and because I know we're out of time here, apologize for that. But we got through a decent amount of markets. Watch this dollar; it's rallying again, getting pretty close to this level, and watch the euro into that demand level we found. That one looked really good. All right, thanks for your time, and my email address is in there if you have any questions. You won't find that course on the website yet, but it's out there, and I'll get you more information on it. Just send me an email, or I'll give you more information next time at FX Street. And thanks for your time, folks, and thanks for your trust and all that, and thanks to FX Street for putting these sessions on. And have a great day, everybody.